Today we're going to be talking about Annihilation, so stay tuned. Welcome to The Real Review, sponsored by Parametric and Lazy Ape Studios, where you get some of the latest happenings, real thoughts, and perspectives in the world of film and television.
Yep.
I'm here with Matt. Annihilation! Hey.
Oh, okay.
Do you
I
know
gotcha.
what that's from?
No, I don't.
Rockadoodle.
Rockadoodle. I don't even know what that is.
There's a little owl guy in there, and he goes, Annihilation.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't do the accent very well, but who am I?
It's okay. Everybody, I am here with Joel Shimmer Cunningham.
Shimmer.
Shimmer.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Actually, the shimmer reminds me of bubbles, like bubble solution. Right?
I could see that. Yeah. I was kind of wondering there was something in the back of my head that it kind of looked like, and I think that was
inspiration. At least that's what it seems like to me. I was like, that looks like bubble solution.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into this when we're talking about the movie, but there was definitely elements of a quasi-famous piece of cultural media that I felt like was very much an influence of sorts on this movie.
Quasi, guys.
Yes, but before we get there, why don't we give our listeners some ways to get connected?
Yes, y'all, we can get connected a number of different ways. Mainly our website, realreviewmedia.com. Connect with us. All of our social media channels are there. Facebook.com, Instagram, Twitter, all that, at Real Review Media. And then also YouTube, youtube.com/TheRealReview. We do trailer reactions. I'm going to be dropping the Wreck-It Ralph one. Ralph Breaks the Internet one here real soon. And that's always a fun time. So connect with us there. Email us at realreviewmedia@gmail.com.
The Gmail.
Yeah, keep us updated. Let us know what's going on. If there's some obscure movie you want us to talk about, tell us about it.
Yeah.
And we want to watch it. I like obscure movies a lot of times. Sometimes, maybe.
Sometimes, depends upon the movie.
Yeah, sure. It's all good.
I
But
do
that's how
like
you can
checking
do
them
that.
out, though. Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Matt.
Totes.
Beautifully well done. So, as mentioned, today we're going to be talking about Annihilation. We're going to get into, I think, maybe a little tiny bit of spoiler talk with this one, just because it's such a crazy film.
What we're going to do, I think would probably be best is like be as general as we can up front and then give a little spoiler warning like we typically do. Yeah,
exactly. So,
cool.
We'll let you know when we're getting to that. But why don't we get right into it?
Do it.
All right, here we go. So, synopsis for this one. Based on Jeff Vandermeer's best-selling Southern Reach trilogy, Annihilation stars Natalie Portman, Jennifer Lee, Gina Rodriguez, Tessa Thompson, Tuva Novotny, and Oscar Isaacs. It's written and directed by Alex Garland. Not really too much of a synopsis there, actually. I didn't really give much away with that. Crazy things happen. That's all I'm going to say. So, as mentioned, all those people are a part of it. We've got a few other additional side characters. Benedict Wong is in there. David Gyasi. But those are kind of the big names.
It's kind of like one scene. Benedict Wong was like one scene that they just kept cutting back to.
Ongoing scene. Yeah.
Anyways, it's all good.
Anyway, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, so I like this movie quite a bit. I didn't love it. I would have loved it if the ending would have been different, or if it would have been... It's kind of like when people say, they didn't stick the landing. That's kind of how I feel about it. Like the routine was awesome.
It stumbled a bit there. Yeah.
And then at the end is where like it didn't quite land for me. I know it did for a lot of people. For me, it did not. And I think that's where a lot of contention is going to come from.
There was a strong tonal shift towards the end that, I mean, it's the same sort of thing that they kind of did with Alex Garland did, like an Ex Machina.
Yeah, but he stuck the landing on Ex Machina.
Right, but it's this building intensity that you're kind of expecting this break to happen. And the break does happen. I'm not going to spoil anything at this point, but, the break does happen in a sense. But it never really got there for me. It never really felt like that intensity was warranted.
Yeah.
It was more quizzical and kind of what's happening and what is this? And it was trying to turn it into almost this like scary horror thing, but it was like more just what? But yeah, that's more the end. General thoughts.
General thoughts. This thing was a sight to behold.
Oh,
there was stuff in this movie that I was like, that looks gross, but like it's really cool and maybe slightly beautiful looking at the same time. I was like, what is that? There was a lot of that in this movie, and it had me. I will say that just overall, it had me from start until about the last 15 minutes, 10 minutes maybe.
Yeah.
Where I was like, what is happening? I was so invested. And then like, I think it just didn't pay off in the way that I was hoping it would. I'm sure it did for a lot of people. It's just my own perspective on it. But Yeah, I was super invested though in the first half. I was like, the mystery was there and it was real for me. I was like, this is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think visually this film will go down as one of the best of the year for sure. There was a lot to it. I think that gross beautiful is a good way of kind of putting it.
Yeah.
There was images that you're seeing that you're like, this is kind of weird and I'm kind of grossed out, but it's also kind of cool at the same time.
Yeah.
I think especially if you're a fan of sci-fi, which I tend to be, there was a lot of really effective visuals
for sure.
going on there and bright colors at times and kind of different stuff, and it needed to be.
Even the horrific stuff was like bright and colorful. You're
right.
Like, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, and it needed to be, obviously, for the story, the plot to kind of progress the way that it did. I think overall, that was probably the biggest aspect that was good for me. Action-wise, I thought it was okay. Like there wasn't really a lot of heavy action scenes. There were kind of more scenes of violence that were mixed in throughout the film. It
wasn't an action film. Yeah.
No, more of a mystery sort of suspense type thing.
With some thriller elements. There's one scene in particular towards the end that it was insane. And I remember just the whole, it was actually, that seems probably the most horrific thing of the movie where it gets like horror film stuff where you're like, wow, this is super intense. They pulled it up. That scene I thought was really, really well done, really effective. I felt personally like bothered by it and like scared by it. I was like, man, this is super intense. But it was that part was good, but for the most part the film it wasn't filled with that.
Yeah. Any other positives for you? Because I could start talking about negatives and
I thought the acting was good for what it was. I liked how like ambitious it was, in spite of how I don't feel like it landed it well.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with the source material.
Me neither.
I am actually curious to maybe pick up and read it. I saw the book at the store the other day, and it's actually not that big.
Is it a trilogy? Because that said trilogy.
I know, that's what I was going to ask too. I don't know if they're going to make a full trilogy out of
or
this.
Or if this was one part of the one film that summarized the entire trilogy.
I'm not sure. I'm not really sure.
I'll have to look into that. Sorry, folks. We didn't look into that. Yeah.
I'm going to look into that and I'll let you know. But anyways, I'm curious because I want to go back, and the thing about it, the more I think about it, is I want to go back and watch it again.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with this movie that I really liked, is that it's creating a lot of like questions in my mind. I'm really thinking about this movie. It's not just a straightforward thriller. Like I'm really thinking about what it all means, what it is. And Joel and I were talking about it earlier, and I was kind of like, I thought I had a clear, thought in my mind of what it meant and stuff at the end, with the exception of like one little detail. And then Joel's like, well, I don't know if that's what I thought, we already have differing opinions, even though I thought I knew what it was about. So I like that element of it. There's a lot of discussion that to be had. And I guess other than it being visually incredible, I enjoyed the ride. Yeah. I thought until the very end, I thought it was really, really engaging to me, suspenseful.
Very cool. I would agree with that. I think that's my other big positive takeaway. This is I really do appreciate that they went there. I know it's previously a book, and again, it's not this original project, but it feels like nothing else right now.
Yeah.
It really kind of has this own tone and structure to it that was just cool to see.
Yeah.
So we don't get a lot of those types of films in cinema these days.
Right.
So I can appreciate it on that level that they went there. When they could have just done another sequel or another remake or something like that. And so I will give kudos to the studio, kudos to Alex Garland for shooting for the stars.
Ambition.
Yeah, that's kind of the end for me in regards to strong positives.
Get in some negative
details here. Yeah. I really had a mixed appreciation for the acting.
Okay.
Was one of the big things. I understood, I believe what they were going for, which felt very much like this kind of building. Again, it's this kind of like all the character, but it felt like all the characters were really on like downers. Like every single one of the characters, for the most part, every scene was just like, da, 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 da.
Right.
I have cancer. I have,
They explain why they're all, that's kind of part of the reason why they explain why they're all doing it. But yeah, not to get into details right now.
Right, but even outside of the outside of the shimmer area, like eventually the synopsis here, which I'll give like kind of briefly, is this alien sort of meteorite creature thing crash lands on Earth and creates this shimmer, like this special area of the shimmer, and this group of 5 girls go in to kind of investigate what's happening there after numerous teams have gone in and kind of not returned.
Disappeared, right.
So they're investigating this unknown, thing that's building there. And there was no intensity behind most of the scenes. And I remember hearing about a scene that actually got cut from this film, which I can talk about because it's not spoilers because it's not in the film. But
the Natalie Portman one?
Yeah, Natalie Portman's character, Lena, she's supposed to be sort of fight when she initially gets brought by the military. Right? She's supposed to fight and do her escape, and they took that out because they felt like there was too much intensity to that, and too much to her character that kind of like made her too aggressive in the scene. Okay. And it's like I wanted a bit more aggression. I mean, even in a lot of the action scenes, they would slow it down.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was very slow pacing, kind of slow building, and it just overall kind of made me feel very like. I get it, like, because again, I think it serves that kind of slow building, but it just felt very boring and bland at times.
Oh, okay. So I didn't mind the slow pacing up front because I was so engaged into what the heck this shimmer thing was,
Yeah.
I was so engaged in that mystery that I didn't find that boring. And negatives, though, there's that, like, subplot of... like Natalie Portman and this other professor that I was like, what's the point of that? I don't know. It seemed pointless to me. I mean, I guess I understand what they were going for, but they could have just cut it out and would have changed the film.
I think I understood that and I related to it. We can talk more about that probably in the spoiler talk.
Yeah.
I think what they were trying to do there was give a driving factor for Natalie Portman's character, Lena, beyond just I'm gonna try and do what's right.
Right.
It made it into an attempt to have like a redemptive arc for her.
That's what I got. It just it wasn't there wasn't enough there.
Right, there wasn't. And there was missed things like that. There was missed elements with characterization where things kind of just happened.
Yeah.
And I was looking for arcs for all the characters, and they all kind of had like a little bit of a mini arc, but they weren't very relatable. I didn't understand where most of the people in the film are coming from.
Yeah, no, the people definitely weren't as relatable. I was actually. I felt more connected to Oscar Isaac's character than anybody else.
Agreed, yeah, 100%.
And it was funny is he was shooting this movie simultaneously as The Last Jedi.
Okay.
And they were on because it only worked because they were like the next door set.
Oh, really?
They were shooting next door.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so he was saying there would be days where he'd start off on The Last Jedi set and then go over to the Annihilation set and then just film his scene there. And then he was doing both. It's crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah, just as a whole, I mean, I agree with not being able to connect with them. I think Oscar Isaac was the one I was able to most connect with. And he's good in like everything I've seen him in. So I like him.
My overall sense from the film that I kind of left feeling was that they were going for something big. They were really reaching for something. And I know Alex really worked hard to have his vision be portrayed in this film. He worked very heavily. The studio was very heavily kind of saying like, hey, you need to make some changes here. You need to do some different things.
He fought for his cut, yeah.
And he fought for his cut very hard. And I think that's fine. It's understandable. But there wasn't anything about this cut that I really felt like if that hadn't been in the film, that would have entirely like hurt or changed. And there's people out there that are making comparisons right now to like Blade Runner. Like the original Blade. And I'm like, no way. Like, that
it's not.
This isn't a film. Like Blade Runner was a film that revolutionized sci-fi. It gave not only a cinematic style, but a genre of film that we'd never even seen before. This is not going to reach those heights. You know what I mean?
This does leave me wanting to see more weird stuff in the shimmer. Like I want to see I wish I could see, I wanted to see more weird stuff.
Like
in the
a
shimmer.
sequel or kind of a thing.
Something, I don't know.
Yeah, but it's not going to like revolutionize what I think of sci-fi and wanting to see more films that are this type of sci-fi. So.
Nope. It's all good.
Yeah. My last point being that I think that there was mishandlings of, it was like obtusely ramming in certain script elements and story elements that some people seem to be a bit confused on and creates contention when it all came across as pretty obvious to me. I mean, there was things that like, obviously I don't know how that creature was specifically formed or why, and I don't know how this person died or why that's there, but it didn't really feel like elements to the story that I wanted to investigate. It just felt like we're adding things to just create stuff in the story. Yeah. And that created this contention, which I don't understand what the contention with the film is, but it kind of is there. Some people are like, I love this film, and other people are like, this is a stupid film. It didn't make any sense, especially the ending. And I'm like, I'm kind of
You're in the middle. I'm more on the the good side of it. I'm not at the quite
Cool.
where I loved it. And that's what I heard too, is that people wanted the studio wanted to change the ending to make it more accessible to people.
Gotcha.
I probably would have liked it more even if they would have went that route.
Or I would have gone even more ethereal, to be honest with it. But let's go into spoilers real quick.
Yeah, let's do it.
Why don't you give what your kind of overall rating now?
Yeah, I'm going to give it an 85.
Okay.
B.
I'm going 81.
Okay.
So B minus. So we're not that far off.
No.
We're generally pretty close, which is good.
Yeah.
But all right, cool. So if you're listening now and you don't want any spoilers, go ahead and switch the podcast off.
Earmuffs?
Yeah, earmuffs, or put it on. Go la 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 la.
Yeah.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and Oscar Isaac dies.
Yeah, kind of.
Kind of. He kind of blows himself up, but he
That was
doesn't.
crazy.
Yeah,
that was
pretty
crazy.
crazy.
My favorite scene, and I was talking about this earlier, was Scream Bear scene. That scene
Scream
was
Bear.
scary.
Scream Bear scene was probably the most effective portion of the entire film for me. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And as soon as you realize that the bear is the one screaming, you're like, oh my gosh, this is scary. That bear screams like people.
Which it was really cool. But again, it kind of felt like with that scene in particular, like you just needed something there. You wanted something additional. Like you didn't want to just make a creature. You wanted to make like a weird creature that had like humanish elements and things like that.
Right.
And it's probably in the book. Like, don't get me wrong, that's probably a part of the book, and he's
right.
probably just portraying that. But it just felt overly manipulative to kind of the way that it was incorporated. You know what I mean? It almost felt like the ends were justifying the means versus just the story being told. But it was a great scene. I mean, visually and just the stuff was happening. You're just like, oh, gross. Yeah. The other scene that was really viscerally and visually just like, ugh, was the scene where they cut the guy open.
Yeah, and then you see the aftermath in the pool.
Yeah.
That guy, like, all grown in, like his face all in. Oh,
so the comparison I was going to make that I talked about in the very beginning, very minor, but almost felt like this was like a spiritual successor to our visual style, was Last of Us.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely this sense, which is a video game.
That's a good point. That's like one of my favorite video games ever.
Right, but the video game is these people get these like sort of growths that come out of them from some like bacteria, fungus, and they become clickers and stuff like that. Yeah, but it felt like that. I mean, these like extensions coming out of their bodies and the style of it, very like, everything felt very like growth, growth like plants and foliage and stuff. Let's talk about, we don't have too much time here to get into all the details, but let's specifically talk about the end.
Okay, yeah.
Because I think that is obviously the biggest contention point for most people and probably for you and I.
So my thing was, it was just alien showed up. The shimmer was basically it terraforming, creating an environment that it knows that it can survive in, that kind of a thing. Because to that point, to what I had understood, when Oscar Isaac came out of the shimmer, it wasn't technically him, and that's why he seemed so off. Yeah. But he started dying because like his organs started failing because he was out of the shimmer, is kind of what I was gathering. Yeah.
That's what didn't make any sense, though. Because here, and I wanted to mention something about Natalie Portman in that scene, but that specifically didn't make sense to me because the idea was Oscar Isaac died. Mm-hmm. We see him blow himself up, basically, with the phosphorus grenade. Yeah. And then this like recreation of him somehow is formed and leaves the glimmer shimmer leaves it and finds Natalie Portman's character, and then is dying though because he's somehow not really of this world, not really, but he kind of is and he kind of isn't. So the creature is able to create this artificial version of him, but then as soon as Natalie Portman sort of destroys the shimmer, then he becomes real, like a real boy. Which didn't make any sense to me because...
Like his organs start working.
Right, which didn't make any sense to me unless it purposefully sent itself out knowing that they were going to destroy it and it wanted to create a secondary version of it, but pretend like it wasn't or something. Because you see at the end when they kiss, Lena and him, their eyes kind of
both of them
shimmer.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, the idea is that, the shimmer is not really dead. It's still there. It's going to continue on and grow and expand once again, but through different means, through alternate means.
The only ambiguous thing that I didn't fully understand was why Lena's eyes were shimmering. That was the only thing I didn't fully get. I understand why Oscar Isaac, because he was one of the aliens or whatever.
Well, I think he infected her.
Really?
Yeah, I really think
I didn't get that.
Yeah, legitimately, I think that was going on. It felt so odd and out of place because the ending was, to me, the ending was odd and out of place. And they said this. They said that the thing didn't really have a purpose. It didn't really have a reason for doing it. It was just kind of doing it. Like, it had no why.
Right.
Because they say that a couple times. Like, well, why was it doing this? And she's like, I don't think it had a reason. And that's not a good antagonist. Like,
Right.
a good antagonist has to have a reason. But then it said annihilation was its purpose. So it's like it had a reason, but it didn't have
Well,
a
I
so
heard
it became very...
I heard it was a big allegory, or not allegory. I heard it was a big representation of like cancer.
Right.
Basically, and I heard that was saying. I mean, she's talking about up front. She's talking about cancer. People have cancer in the movie.
But cancer's not an alien, you know what I mean?
And
so
annihilation is cancer's objective, but there's no reasoning for cancer.
I gotcha.
I think that's kind of what maybe
that makes sense. I get it.
Right.
That's a little once removed to me because
Right,
it's
sure.
an alien creature that comes from. So and maybe the alien is a whole like thing in your body that's not supposed to be there. I get that. Very deep allegory for something that really shouldn't be that deep.
Right.
The other thing that I kind of have a problem with, and this was again part to do with the ending where I felt like it was a bit mishandled. So you mentioned this. They were building the entire time towards this break, in a sense, this idea that Natalie Portman's character had this affair with David Gyasi.
Yeah.
And because of this, she was really dealing with some like inner turmoil and demons.
Yeah.
That really made her want, in a sense, to go into the shimmer because she had cheated on her husband
She
and
said she owed him.
Right, she owed him. So I was expecting that final sort of climactic battle, if you will, the battle with that creature to be sort of the antithesis of that, the breaking, the finalization of that story arc. But that never really happened. You know, you see Oscar Isaac just kill himself, but she never really comes to terms or comes to grips with the fact that she cheated on him, and it's never really brought up again after she kind of has that moment where right before she gets to the shimmer, she kind of breaks down in the forest, you know, and then she breaks down a bit when she's in there, but it's like, why would you present this entire story arc for her character, which was obviously impacting her very strongly, and then never really give a satisfying conclusion to that? And you could say that maybe because, you know, she went into the thing afterwards, she had like forgiven herself or something like that, but that's never really drawn out.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know, that's never really explained. What he did, Alex Garland did with Ex Machina, talking about a different movie, not going to spoil that too much in case you've never seen it, but like there was a satisfying conclusion. Like even though things were left open-ended in a way,
and it made me sad a little bit, but it was good.
And it kind of frustrates you because you're like, what is going to happen here?
Yeah.
There's enough that you understand and you've felt and you've realized with the characters and their progress to know that like that's kind of the purpose, is that it's supposed to be frustratingly open-ended and make you feel a little disturbed. So that was like the big thing.
Yeah.
I think, you know, it built okay,
Yeah.
but there wasn't a satisfying conclusion to wrap up the entire film.
Yeah.
I think if the acting had been more intense and real, if there had been a bit less of like hey, we're going to create these like, you know, plant creatures so that way we can have one of the girls just turn into one of them at some point. Like that would have been nice to me.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
I liked all the weird stuff. I don't know. The weird stuff was my favorite part of the movie.
It just there was too much like we're gonna show weird things so that way eventually we can tie that into something that's gonna happen.
I just
show
didn't
weird
see
things so we
what
can tie that
happened to
in.
her. They didn't show what happened to the plant Tessa Thompson.
I think she turned into a plant thing.
Well, I understand,
but they
but
didn't
they
really
didn't show it.
I know, yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't give a satisfying thing to that.
Like they
so.
showed the plant stuff coming out of her, like right as she was walking away. But I was like,
Yeah.
dang, what's gonna happen? Then they just didn't show. I was like, oh.
And that was again slightly unwarranted to me. It was kind of like, okay, I guess you want to just be a plant now.
How did Natalie Portman, like I know the DNA is being refracted and all that stuff, but how does that tattoo translate to going from what's her face's character to Natalie Portman's character?
I have no idea.
Okay, that was weird. I was like,
there's certain elements like that, like the fact that
like
her
the DNA is refracted, not the tattoo.
yeah, like the way that her DNA came out and went into the creature,
just a cut
and it turned into
from
like
blood.
right, but like how that formatted the different version
or
of her
like
versus
Jennifer Jason Leigh just shooting fire from her
right.
mouth.
Whereas with Jennifer Jason Leigh, it doesn't create an artificial version; it like blows her up.
Right.
You know, it's like what, why, you know, and maybe it goes in the whole cancer thing. There's
I
no
don't
point to it. Maybe it's just all supposed to be like that.
Right,
I don't know. But yeah,
Good questions.
It didn't
Good
accomplish.
questions.
Good questions, contentions. There you go.
Alex Garland, if you're listening, can we have you on the show? We'll interview you about this.
That would be amazing.
Yeah,
So,
come hang out with us.
Cool. Well, I think it's going to wrap things up then.
Totally is.
We'll go ahead and conclude, let you know some good ways to get connected again. RealReviewMedia.com website. We have our Facebook, facebook.com/RealReviewMedia. We also have our Instagram and our Twitter, which are both at RealReviewMedia. And we would love to hear your thoughts and perspectives. Maybe we missed something. Maybe we didn't understand something. Obviously, we haven't read source material as we mentioned. So if you have thoughts, you want to share those, please do so. You can email us at realreviewmedia@gmail.com.
Do it.
Cool. Anything else, Matt?
No, that's it.
All right. Well, it's been real.
It's been real.